saying stuff like, you're nothing without me, you can't make it without me, using gymnast parents for favors. For example, can you run to Victoria's Secret and get me some thongs?
Is that a real example?
Yes!
Remember, the show is PG-13, so you might hear a naughty word or two.
Norbert's is having a sale. It's Swing into Spring. 10% off all bar pads. Go to norberts.com for 10% discount on anything with the code GymCastic. Norbert's is also giving away a $50 Norbert's gift card that can be used in anything in their online store. No minimum. Just follow Norbert's Athletic on Instagram and comment on the giveaway post. We are going to talk about conference championships qualifiers in the SEC. There's a qualifier now. Not everybody makes it. The big SEC team is out. We're also going to talk about Jordan Chiles' book, I'm That Girl. It's March 17th, 2025. Welcome to the #1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation. Reminder, the live show season pass is on sale now. We're going to do 4 live shows again, and the first one's going to be at NCAA's, and it is very much related to Jordan Chiles' book because it's going to be, you want to know about what happened in the Paris floor final? That is going to be the subject. That's one of the subjects of our special guests at the NCAA championships. So, and that live show. So it's going to be good. It's always on the Friday in between competitions, and you're not going to want to miss this. Let's start by talking about Jordan Chiles' book.
So you read it or listened to it, I assume.
Because, I listened to it, obviously.
Yeah. So let me know, what is the kind of, first of all, what's the scope of this book? Is it just like autobiography, start like from the first time I touched a mat to now, or what is it?
Yeah, it starts from like, this is how I started gymnastics, this is who my family are, all the way through the Paris floor final. And that's the whole, all the way through it. So it's like everything that has happened in her life so far. I think one of the most refreshing things about this book is that it actually acknowledges abuse as abuse, which, we have a book club at GymCastic. We have many interviews of people's, gymnast books. And there are many, many biographies that talk about what happened in gymnastics and there's very few that refer to what happened as abuse and call it that, even though they're spelling it out. And also what's different about this is there's many parents who have like apologized and taken responsibility in private, but this book and in interviews previous, her parents have taken responsibility for their role, the role they played with the abuse that Jordan suffered. And I'm not referring to Nassar. She said she's not a Nassar victim. Also, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff in the book. I'm not talking about everything in the book. You should definitely read it, but I want to talk about some specific things in the book. The biggest thing to me that this is like a big conversation with her mom, especially, and, apologizing to her and being like, I didn't think this was going to happen. This is where it got, and I owe you an apology. And it's kind of amazing.
So would you say the book is like there are many different, gymnasts have written books for different audiences. Like some are like, oh, this is a book for little kids. Some are like, this is a young adult kind of book. Some are like, this is super adult and we're getting into it. So is this more on the like, this is an adult book and we're getting into it?
No, I think this is like a young adult appropriate. I think even kid appropriate. I would say you have like a 8-year-old, they can read this. I mean, that's me. You know how I grew up.
Right.
Feral.
Yeah. But listen, if you don't know this, subscribe to Behind the Scenes and you'll get many pieces of the puzzle falling into place. So other highlights for you from this book?
Yeah, the relatable things like that she grew up in a house that's like big on sports. All the family members play sports. They watch sports. And like at a meet for the first time, she didn't realize that girls aren't supposed to act like adult men in pro sports. Like that's considered rude in real life. And I like acting like you want to win. Yes. Like she was like, I'm going to win this meet. And then was like, everyone got upset and she had to, she was asked to apologize for saying that. And she's like, but aren't we all here to win the meet? Like it's a competition. I don't understand. Like, so it's one of those things that's so very relatable. The first time you're like, wait, there's different expectations for what I'm supposed to do. Obviously referencing curses right at the beginning of the book. That she got, her floor score was a 666 in Paris, and that was ominous foreshadowing. And I was like, oh, thank you. Finally, We've been talking about curses for years in gymnastics, and finally someone's going to acknowledge it. My favorite part of this is she was like, her parents had suggested therapy. She'd try it, but she was like, nah, I'm not really into this. Because, you know, it's like you have to be wanting to do it for it to work. And so her parents finally convince her again. And she's like, oh, fine. All right, I'm going to try this. But like, I'll get Dairy Queen after. If I do
solid.
therapy, I'm like, this is it, whatever it takes.
You deserve a treat.
You do deserve a treat after therapy. Yes, you will feel better in the long run, but it's not easy to do. So where's the Dairy Queen sponsorship after this? This is Dairy Queen. This is my NIL ad for you. It's her lying in the therapist chair. It's I don't know. It's Megan the Stallion is her therapist. And they're eating Dairy Queen and talking about whatever they're talking about. I would watch that over and over and over. Just like there's a Pedro Pascal ad coming out tomorrow. And I've marked it on my calendar to watch. Oh my God.
You know that there's an ad coming out in advance.
That's
because it's Pedro Pascal.
Yes. I've already sent the pre-ad advertising the ad for the ad. Yeah, I've sent it to my friends because Okay. Anywho. It's like some Apple product, but I'm like, I don't care what it is. I'm going to watch this whole ad for an ad. Also, she played clarinet. I feel like I knew she played clarinet, but she's like, was in a band too? Like the school band, not like in a
I was hoping band. For like, yeah.
It is. I mean, that's the thing. It is.
Jordan Chiles and Frida Esparza have a band. Frida plays the guitar. Jordan plays the clarinet. I mean, I'd go.
This sounds like the best band. I mean, it is St. Patrick's Day today. We're recording on St. Patrick's Day. And so it is an immigrant holiday. So shout out to every single person in the United States because we're all immigrants here, except the Native Americans. So I would just like to acknowledge and yes. And Spencer's wearing green. There you go. So he is.
That was an accident.
I
don't want anyone to think that I intentionally wore a holiday related color.
The clarinet reminded me of like an Irish ska band and then I can just see Frida and like there's a whole horn section made up of, I don't know, the whole Stanford team. I can see them doing that with like sunglasses. Anyway, guys, this could also be in the Dairy Queen ad. The other thing.
Dairy Queen, do not hire Jessica.
Wendy's though. I'm here for you. The narrator pronounced Kazakh as Cossack, as in the Cossacks or Cossacks. Yeah, Kazakh as Cossack instead of Kazakh, Cossack. Who are like the people? There's like a bad history with the Cossacks, and so related to as wiping out of ethnicities. It was an unintentional or purposeful. That's what I wondered. Because they were talking about Valerian. Woof. Jordan does not hold back about Valeria Lucan. She does not like him. And that is very evident in the book.
That does bring up one of the things I'm really interested in with Jordan, because it seems like she's been through such a roller coaster of training and coaching situations in her time in elite gymnastics. And like very positive, very negative, camps in many different eras. So I kind of want to know, like, does she go into differences in the culture and changes and all of that?
It's interesting because she makes a point of talking about like the differences and is very positive about Rhonda Fane and changes Rhonda made when Rhonda took over. But she doesn't talk about specific things at camp. But she does talk about like elite gymnastics culture in general. And one of the things she emphasizes a lot through the book is like, she's from Washington. So Washington State, not DC. And because she would have had a very different experience, I think, if she was from DC. But she saw very few Black gymnasts growing up, or Black coaches, or Black judges, and especially Black women. And I thought about that a lot because I always make a point of mentioning when there's a Black judge, especially because it's so rare. And she talks about, you have to see that role model to be it. She talks a lot about Dominique Dawes. And I thought about Cleo Washington too. We've had an interview with her and like how often she is the only Black coach anywhere, and especially Black woman in the room. This is another thing that wasn't named as abuse, but I was like, this is abuse. 7-hour workouts with a 10 or 15 minute snack break is what she reported. And I'm like, that's not okay. That's not a food. And speaking of the food stuff, there's a lot of that. Talked about normalizing. It was normalized not to have periods in her gym. She doesn't say at camp, but she also talked about having to sneak into the kitchen, break into the kitchen at camp to get food, which we've heard from other gymnasts.
Good for her.
Yes. If you are doing the right thing, sometimes you need to break the rules.
Sometimes you have to break the rules
to do the right thing. And yeah, so she talks about that stuff. There's a lot about Coach X.
And Coach X is?
So Jordan's elite coach's name was Erica Bacchus. She was Tanya Harding's, the figure skaters choreographer, and Jordan Chiles Gymnastics coach. She is not named in the book anywhere. There is a coach called Coach X who would have been the person with her for the entire timeline. And also she is the person named in the congressional hearing notes. So we know they're referring to Erica Bacchus specifically. I mean, it's a government document, official record. And she goes into a lot about her.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the specific accusations made in the book are that she constantly was giving Jordan negative comments about her hair, about her body type, name calling. There were so many nicknames, I don't want to repeat them. Recommending disordered eating, which calorie restriction, like the clear soups thing. How many people have we heard about the clear soups? It's basically like, yeah, we're not telling you not to eat, but just get no nutrients. 800 calories a day. This is all abuse. None of this is allowed under safe sport rules. You cannot say stuff like this to athletes anymore. Calling friends' houses to check on Jordan and make sure she wasn't eating stuff she didn't want her to, like birthday parties. Is Jordan there? Make sure she doesn't have any cake. That kind of stuff. All this led to her binge eating, saying stuff like, you're nothing without me. You can't make it without me. Using gymnast parents for favors. For example, can you run to Victoria's Secret and get me some thongs?
Is that a real example?
Yes!
Oh my God.
It was sort of mentioned as like a grooming behavior to make the parents feel special. Like, oh, I rely on you, you're a friend. But then using them for financial favors. And then there is the part where she cuts her hair away while they're away at a camp or a meet. Cuts her hair. And Jordan calls her mom crying, and her mom tells Erica in no uncertain terms how absolutely unacceptable that was and why. There's a lot. I like that she brings up the hair issue a lot and how important that is, for Black women, and how it's, this is an absolutely off limits topic of discussion for anyone but the coaching or like touching someone's hair. All that kind of stuff. Oh, I did want to say Amy's book is coming out soon, and there's a lot of things mentioned that Amy Borman's Mobile's first coach, and there's so many things that Jordan talks about in here, and there's more detail on it. It's really interesting reading these both of these books because Amy has a bunch of details on certain incidents that Jordan talks about from her perspective in the book. And then Amy has like historical examples and more context from her like adult perspective, seeing these things happen. So I think these are great to read together. Okay, the other thing about Erica Bacchus, the biggest thing, and we originally discussed this when it happened, but the biggest accusations about Erica Bacchus is being accused of drinking while coaching, drinking while traveling, being drunk while coaching. Jordan's parents found out, told the gym owner. Erica at one point asked Gina for help. Gina Chiles is Jordan's mom, helped her get into rehab. She was gone for a little while, came back to the gym. It is mentioned in this, and I think this is really important, that Jordan's parents are pastors. They're in like a non-denominational church, and like the redemption thing is real for them. It's very important for them. Like if you love and care about someone, you should try to help them, try to change them for the better. Give them, not change, but give them the tools if you care about them to make an improvement in their life. So at camp in October 2016, Jordan's coach was found to have like a cup of alcohol with her. Rhonda and Valerie were now in charge. So this is Rhonda Fain, Valerie Lucan. They put Erica on probation and gave her written warnings that like we know that you're drinking. You cannot drink while you're coaching. And this is also important because this is before Safe Sport. There was like weird USAG behind the scenes secret rules. Like, remember we talked about Steve Penny and the filing cabinet, where there's like tons of coaches that have been accused of things, but they were never made public. And like at some point, Rhonda gave Jordan a safe word, which is Jordan was like, I don't understand why she didn't know what a safe word was. She just knew that Rhonda said, if you ever don't feel safe with your coach, say this word. And that's a huge change. And I think we have heard from many gymnasts over many years about coaches coaching drunk at the ranch, in front of the national team, in front of Marta Caroli. And then there was the big incident that we talked about.
And this is in 2017, the selection for the Yesolo team.
Yep. And so this was when Erica was drunk in front of gymnasts, like in front of a lot of gymnasts. Several gymnasts reported it to Valeria and Rhonda. She called Jordan's mom, slurring her words, brought her own alcohol to camp. Like, we know from many reports, there was always drinking at camp when the Carolis were there. They had little parties in their house, but this was like on the floor coaching the whole time, drunk. So she was then banned from the ranch and all national team activities for alcohol abuse. Jordan was left off that team, not because she didn't make the team, but because she didn't have a coach, because the rules state you have to have a coach. And I think at the time we were kind of like, well, Valerie Lucan is a coach and Rhonda Fain is a coach. Could they not have gone and taken Jordan with her? But then, like, at the time I was like, this is so wrong. But now looking back, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is a way bigger deal than did you make the team or not? That you are there with a coach who's drunk. So this is the part that is so important about this book, that makes it stand out, and also just about Jordan's parents, because they've given interviews about this before, which we'll link to in the show notes. When Jordan got home, her mom and her had like a heart-to-heart, and her mom took responsibility and apologized for what was happening with her coach, and like, you should not have been exposed to this, and this, I did not want this to happen. And then they both told each other all the things that they had not been telling each other. Jordan was like, oh yeah, she's always at the bar when we go to meets. Like, she leaves me alone and then goes off, and she's been traveling since she was like 10 was her first national team camp. And then told her, oh yeah, sometimes Erica would ask me to take the wheel and drive. So Jordan's like 14 or 15 at this point, and she's been driving sometimes for her coach.
Right.
Yes, those are the major accusations in the book.
But not the coach is not named in the book.
The coach is not named. She's called Coach X, but the coach is named in this. There is a letter about this incident in the Senate hearings about Nassar and Safe Sport. Gina wrote a letter talking about this. And it was in support of Rhonda Fain when Rhonda testified. That was a really positive thing. So that is in the record, and she is specifically named. But I think the other thing is, like, at the time, I also was like, this is so positive. Something good has finally happened. There's someone there who stopped a drunk coach from coaching, and now she can't come to camp anymore. Like, that's how fucked up USA Gymnastics was, that this was huge positive step, not just like an absolute duh, because we'd known that this has happened for so many years and no one had done anything about it before.
So I have a question that you may not know the answer to, but I want to ask it. So that being in the congressional record, Jordan writing about these incidents in this book, although she doesn't name the coach, is that enough for Safe Sport to take on this as a case, or does someone specifically have to report to Safe Sport? Like, I'm making a report to Safe Sport about this happening, or would they like independently generate an investigation because, it's in the congressional record?
That's a great question, Spencer. And I did reach out to Safe Sport and to Nadenoff's, the gym where Jordan went at the time. And the Nadenoffs confirmed that Erica Bacchus still works there, not a lot, just a couple days, but didn't have any comment on, I asked, has she gone through counseling? Was there anything about these accusations? And they were like, we don't have any comment on that. And this is a USAG member gym. So I did reach out to USA Gymnastics Safe Sport and the Center for Safe Sport to ask for comment, and they did not respond. So my understanding is that anyone can make a safe sport complaint. So anyone that's read the book, anyone that's listening to the story who has a concern can say, hey, this person is working at a USA gym. Has there ever been an investigation into this? Because this person was banned, but there's no allegedly banned. There's no record of it. But it is, I think, really important that this kind of thing, this is the whole reason that Safe Sport started, was there so many coaches that were just gym hopping or abusing and continuing to do it and getting away with it, and nothing was done. And yeah, they can just start an investigation on their own.
So other things you want to talk about from Jordan's book?
I think one of the things that I think makes this very worthwhile to read is the perspective of seeing things through someone else's eyes. And having read so many of these books from so many gymnasts from many generations, we don't have a lot of books that are from a Black woman's perspective. There's 3 of these. Basically, books that are out. Simone, Dawes, Dawes needs to write another book now. She has a different perspective now. And Jordan's, like, they're just very few. Mm-hmm. And I think this is what makes it a very worthwhile read, because you cannot make a better system and you can't make a more inclusive and welcoming environment for athletes if you don't understand the perspective that athletes are coming in with. And this is why I always think, like, USA Gymnastics needs to have a lot of training the way that college coaches get a lot of training on diversity and inclusion and how to make sure that everybody feels welcome and understanding their perspectives and backgrounds. And it's also just like, she experienced so much racism as a child. And like, there's a story of a woman, going, just literally stopping a meet, and the police have to be called with this incident of racism. That, like, you can, and then, she's in the system and she's like, this is so messed up. But then she goes to national team and it's like, Valery Lukin's the coordinator. Remember we covered when and Stefan was on that episode, when Valery Lukin gave an interview in Russian, and he talked about how, the new code is just for Black athletes. It totally favors them because the new code is just about power. And we were like, this sounds totally racist to us. And he has never said those things in an English interview, but he said it in Russian. And she mentions that interview and was like, this is a total stereotype. And this seems like, like a racist point of view that he's articulating. And how is someone in charge saying that kind of stuff out loud? The other things that are part of her experience, which are more common, that like Simone and Allie Raisman have mentioned, is like being told, I think this is culturally and in a racist perspective too, that muscles are unattractive. Ooh, that's gross. There's some stories she shares about things that happen in the gym about that her hair is wrong, that kind of stuff, that I think is just, it's very helpful. You want to know how, especially if you want to be an ally and understand if this is not your life experience, how you can make things better. It's worth a read. And it's also like, if you've experienced this thing, it might be nice to be like, see, this shit happens. I am not making it up. Believe me. See, she's had the same experiences that I have. So I really appreciated that.
And you said, when we were talking about this, just mentioned it on Behind the Scenes, you said you had some fact checkies that you felt like, I want this book to have a fact checker. So do you have examples of that? Or
yeah, I feel like she was really, really done dirty by the publisher. And also Nike. Did you see that Nike ad where she's like reading this receipt and it just has a bunch of stuff that aren't about her? Like, I don't know which gymnast they're about, but they're not about her. Like the first UCLA gymnast to go to the Olympics or something, and like 100-time, Olympic and world champion. And she's kind of like laughing at it and reading these. And I'm like, how did Nike like put that? Like, it's the same thing. There seems to be like a lack of fact checking. So I feel like the publisher did her dirty with that. And so many books don't fact check now. Like that used to be standard and it's not. Or you have to like hire someone the writer who's going to do the research on their own, or like, but you also need someone if not those things, someone who knows the sport. So they know like, oh, this might not be a good thing to say. For example, if you say, I had almost zero body fat, like that's not good to say. We don't want that in a gymnastics book, because if you have almost zero body fat, you will die. It's super unhealthy. You would be considered to be very ill or have a severe eating disorder. So, even facetiously, it is a cultural problem to say something like that in general. Those are the kind of things I'm talking about. It's also, also the problem is I feel like publishers don't want to pay someone to do this work. And,
well, yeah, I mean, that is the problem.
The thing that I felt like was very relatable in this book and in the fact checking part of it was like the perspective when you have Jordan has had like a very big life. Like she is going places, she's on TV, all this stuff, but her world is very small. Like the sport of gymnastics world is a small, it's a small world. And you don't know what you don't know. And like we were talking about this before the episode, and I was like, some of this is so relatable because there's things we've talked about, and then our listeners will be like, "Oh, that's not true," and send us a treatise, and we're like, "Wait, how do you know this? Like, this isn't published anywhere." They're like, "Oh, I was just alive during the time when these things happened, so I know about them." And it's especially a problem in gymnastics because until there are some history of gymnastics books, but there isn't one comprehensive book until Dr. Uncle Tim writes it. We're waiting for that. And a lot of things are excluded, like the experience of the marginalized people. So I very much related to this. Like in one of the examples I was thinking when she was talking about the Tokyo hotel rooms and how they were so small. And I laughed out loud when I read that because I was like, oh, if this is the only time you've been to Japan and this was your experience, you would think, oh, the hotel room is really small. But I stayed in two different hotels, and I stayed the second time in the same hotel as the American gymnasts. And that room was, for Japanese standards, a huge hotel room. The first hotel room I was in, my suitcase did not fit in the room, so I had to put it on the bed and sleep with it on the bed. That's the only way it fit. So that was just one of those things. It's like, oh, if that's your experience, that's what you think is a factual, but that's just your experience of it. So I basically want to preface this by saying I want to be very generous of thinking about like myself at 22 or 24
or currently.
Because
we never make mistakes we never make fact check mistakes on this show ever.
Never. Like on behind the scenes when I was like, oh, I met Wolf Blitzer's son. And then someone was like, that's not Wolf Blitzer's son. What are you talking about? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, someone told me that, but Wolf Blitzer does not have a son. He only has a daughter. So I clearly did not meet his son. Just as a for instance.
His son. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that, I thought was a lot of this book is, about like, let's not stereotype, let's make it healthier. Here are some examples of what happened to me. And then, there's a part where she talks about it was normal for a coach to be worried about an athlete's height and how tall they were going to be. And I'm like, no, no, we have to stop this. There's so many examples of successful elite and NCAA athletes who are 6 foot tall, women and men, women who can do bars that are 5'7" and up to 6'1". Kyla Ross being one of them. Horkina is not short, and the most successful gymnast of all time with Latina until Simone. So I was like, no, like it might be your experience, but it doesn't make it factual, or it might be the average, but it's taking away the outliers, and outliers are important. Like, she's talking about how her hip hop routine was totally pushing barriers and the older judges didn't like it. And it was like groundbreaking. And I was like, that can be how you feel. But like hip hop floor routines are well established for 20 years at this point. Going back to La Mencia Hall, the first viral gymnastics routine ever, La Mencia Hall. literally, like that was a hip hop floor
if you're
routine.
saying viral as like a standard,
An
that
actual.
it doesn't have a standard.
But at the time,
Can
there
you believe
wasn't.
there were no floor routines in 1984 that went viral? How is this possible?
Okay, there would have been had there been the internet. Virality. No, virality is different. Virality. Fertility, I don't want to, okay, pronunciation, see? It's I've never tried to pronounce those things out loud before, so.
Yeah, never for the first time on a podcast.
Yeah, Olemencia Hall, like Ariana Berlin, like this is like, hip hop floor routines they might not be common, but they're not new. You know what I mean? That it's like a nuance, context thing. And I think one of the other things is like doing the research is like, the first Black Olympian for the US for women was Lucy Collins, but she isn't mentioned. She starts with the book, or the author starts with Diane Durham. And I feel like this is one thing that I'm so passionate about, because Lucy Collins always gets skipped. And it was so great that Simone's documentary and their researchers made sure to include Lucy Collins. Because a lot of people don't know she was on a boycotted team. She's the one that like the family had the alligator in the backyard because they were like, the grandfather was from Louisiana and they lived in LA, and the family member had the alligator. It's my favorite fact about them. Besides her beautiful gymnastics, that's the other thing, you guys. And so I was like, that's not her fault. That's a lot of people don't know that. But if you have someone who
the US team did not, it was the 1980 US team, which was boycotted, so they didn't compete. So if you're looking at the teams who competed, she wouldn't be on the list. But the US considers the people who are named to be Olympians because there wasn't an Olympics for the US.
Yep. And then there's also a part about her and Jade being kind of the NCAA and elite simultaneously or at the same time, or like doing them both, was being unprecedented was the word that was used. And I was like, okay, it might not be common, but it's definitely not unprecedented. Like going back to the 70s. I just learned this today. Kathy Johnson, 78, was competing in college and then doing her Olympics. I didn't realize that. She was already in college. Then we have, Kelly Garrison in the Olympian in the 80s. We have Kate Richardson, who made an Olympic final. Then came back. Vanessa Zamaripa was
final at the Olympics. Yes,
at the Olympics. That's
where they have
floor final. That's what it's called. Vanessa Zamaripa, who made the national team while in college, and continue. And then Alicia Sacramone is another one, like your national team coordinator. She literally did Olympics, college Olympics. Or back to trying for the Olympics, elite anyway. So those are the kind of things that I'm like, oh, if they had paid someone, and I'm also not faulting the writer, because it's like, because she has a co-author with this, because it's like, writing books does not pay a lot of money. So
and also, how fast did they have to write this and turn this around? Like it's out so quickly that I'm like, I feel like you had some deadlines. Right,
like 2 weeks to do this. So, I mean, because she
wrote an entire autobiography of Jordan Chiles' life in 1 week.
Because it's not just the writing it. It's like you have to you have to get in line at the press to actually print the book. And so there's all of that happens, and there's lots of, people that are having their books printed. You have to get in the line at a certain time. And she mentions like the day after the Olympics, she had a meeting about the book. And I was like, oh my God,
she was like, so we have some new things to talk about. There's been a floor final. It's kind of a big deal.
Yes. Yeah. Those are like some of the things that I was like, oh, it was such an opportunity to change the narrative and include people and stuff like that. But I also, I understand, because there's the perfect way to do things, and then there's the economy of attention. And those don't always match.
Any other thoughts on Jordan's book?
Yes.
Okay.
I have
That's why I'm asking, because I'm going to talk about NCAA soon. And so I'm like, all right, do you have anything else? Because I have some brackets. I'm making my brackets. I'm sketching things. Okay.
Yeah, there are many other things that are off. Like there's a year that something is wrong and the order of things, but I'm like, eh. But the thing, okay, so I want to present a scenario to you. Okay. So you have a friend. She has a boyfriend.
So it's a fictional scenario. You're starting with you have a friend.
You try to act like all your high school friends are still friends. Anyway, so you have a friend and like you guys are hanging out and there's like the boyfriend does something weird that's kind of like snaps and sort of like pulls her or something and you're like, ooh, that's not good. Like that looks sort of like violent and it's a red flag to you. And so you talk to the friend and you're like, what's up? And she makes an excuse and she's like, oh no, that's, it's fine. There's no problem. But then she shows up like with some bruises and you're like, how'd you get that? And it's just like, oh, I fell, I hit myself. And so then, she just stops talking about the boyfriend at all. And you're just like, what's going on? But she never tells you anything. She's like, seems kind of depressed. And then you find out, she's in the hospital. And you find out, oh, her boyfriend tried to kill her. And there was this one red flag. But then and you kind of called it out, but then she never mentioned anything again to you. So you really didn't know what was going on. And you thought you'd have kind of addressed it to help her. And what would we call this kind of relationship?
I mean, I think you've described a classic abusive relationship.
Yes.
An archetypal, one might even say.
Except she makes it out alive. That's the one happy thing about this story. And I think we need to start instead of calling this abusive coaching, and I'm not talking about the crimes, like Nassar, you find out a crime was committed, you immediately go to the police and stop it. Like, I'm not talking about those situations. I'm talking about the long, slow, insidious abuse of small red flags escalating. And I think we need to start calling this abusive relationships because this is what they are. They're relationships because there are multiple parties involved in these. And I think this is the lesson that we can take from Jordan Chiles' book, and especially from her parents taking ownership of the situation and doing everything they could then to rectify it. Because we have seen this theme that everything that plays out in this book, we have seen over and over and over, and many, many, many gymnasts and many athletes and many sports have talked about this, which is there's a red flag. The parent talks to the coach and is like, red flag, don't do red flag anymore. The parent thinks it's fine. Then, but then the coach, meanwhile, is saying, to the parents and to the athlete, I'm the only one that can get you to the Olympics. Or everyone else is saying, you have to go to this coach because they're the only elite coach. And then the parents think that they know there's still some, maybe a little issues, but they think their reinforcement at home can overcome the contradiction in the culture in the gym or of the coach, of the negative things that the coach is saying in the gym. And then the gymnast is concealing all the way more horrible things that are happening in the gym, physical abuse, emotional abuse, name calling, all of that stuff, because the gymnast is like, I'm not going to tell my parents because I'm going to make the fucking Olympic team. Like this is the same kind of thing that Lori Hernandez talked about in her coaching relationship with Maggie Haney, and her parents were like, what? We didn't know this. We thought we fixed it. It ends up the child is hurt, abused, damaged, and then the child repeats this abusive relationship later in their adult relationships and their romantic relationships. And another example of this is like, look at Jordan's coach. She's a Romanian gymnast, and became as alleged to have been an alcoholic who abused her gymnast. And I'm sure if we know what the Romanian gymnastics system is, it's just abuse, sanctioned abuse. So I think we need to start changing the way we talk about this in a way that the title embodies a way out. This is an abusive relationship. These are red flags. And when you hear abusive relationship, don't you immediately think like, oh shit, this could end really badly. You have to get out. Isn't it like more of like red blaring alarms than like abusive coaching? Or there's some emotional abuse.
It's more universal.
Right. It's like a common thing that everyone understands. And this scenario has played out so many times. And so I didn't think we need to change the way we're talking about it. And I also think back to the time that Paul Zert, who's a publisher of International Gymnast, told me, it doesn't matter how many times you tell the parents, the first time around, they don't get it. They don't get that they can't counteract what's happening in the gym. You have to take them out of that situation. So let's try that language. Abusive relationship. Let's see if that's something we can all get behind. Oh, you guys. And who knows? Maybe there'll be a report and an investigation into the coach now that it's the third time it's been publicized. Just saying. Okay. Did we mention before? Hold on. We have to talk about some very important GymCastic updates before we talk about the GymCastic bump that happened.
Club Gym Nerd, you get discounts and first dibs on live show tickets, an extra whole podcast every week, athlete dossiers for major competitions, code guides, options to commission your own segments. It also makes a great gift. Check it out at gymcastic.com at the Join the Club tab.
Today's sponsor is Huel. That's spelled Huel. You guys know that I get really busy and then I'm like, I forgot to make food or order food or ask Fact Checker to make food for me. And so then I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out. I need something. And especially something that has a lot of protein is actually good for me. And I really like these. The Black Edition is a ready-to-drink complete meal in a bottle. And it has 35 grams of protein, which is what I'm always looking for. Like 50 to 30 is my minimum. When it's like 15, I'm like, no, that's not enough for me. I'm not going to do it. 35 grams of protein, a complete meal, and they have all the nutrients that you need, like 27 vitamins and minerals, which is also excellent. I highly recommend these. This is now one of my go-tos on editing, like recording and editing days, because it's easy. I can just grab it and I have a complete meal and I know I'm getting all my vitamins and minerals and protein it's in, so I'm not going to have an energy crash. So if you guys want to try it,
you can get 15% off plus a free gift for new customers using our exclusive code GymCastic at Huel.com. Please see our description for the terms and conditions. Unlock a healthier, easier way to eat with Huel nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters. Okay.
We have a new store. By the way, you can check it out. College and Cocktails. This week is after the conference championship. So it's Saturday, March 22nd at 7, not 7:30, 7 p.m.-ish we're going to start.
Yeah. And once SEC championships, because that's the last one to start. Once that finishes, we're going to start.
Fantasy Gymnastics lineups lock at March 21st at 2:30 Pacific. And we're on Blue Sky. If you haven't heard of it, it's an alternative to Twitter with no Nazi Broligarch in charge. And you can check out the forums because people are selling tickets. People are selling tickets, meetings, looking for carpool buddies to regionals, you guys. You can find, there's things, regional stuff in the forum. So check that out. Do you know who won Dancing with the Stars this week?
Well, because you're talking about it, I assume that means Rhys won?
Yes. Rhys won.
Okay.
Yes.
I got it right.
We have
a very hard quiz and I got it correct.
You did. St. Patrick's Day, winning Dancing with the Stars. It's basically should be an Irish national holiday right now. I wanted to give yet another update on the college swimming boys.
Okay.
Which, Fact Checker, can you show this for our visual listeners so they can see this while we discuss it? So we don't need any sound. So, we talked about how this is just a normal thing across sports, but gymnastics fans haven't often seen this before. Also, shout out to LSU, who put the swimming boys in their weekly recap when they had like the confrontation with the
those were not the swimming boys.
Oh, were they some other boys?
I think they were just boys.
Just boys? Okay.
College boys. Which was enough.
Oh, it was the Kentucky swimmers. Okay, so this college, they have a curtain, and when people do the free throw of basketball, they open the curtain, and there's always something very distracting behind it. And now, like, they've had two people, like, unicorn masks making out, or Thanos has been behind it, or Santa Claus. But now, Michael Phelps and a bunch of swimmers in their Speedos were behind the curtain at this basketball thing. This is Arizona State, I think, is where they do this. So I just want to let you guys know what's happening. Even the even the person with a lot of medals who isn't Simone and only had an opportunity to win more medals. And so that's why he has more than Simone. But also shout out to him because he's very fast in the swimming pool. He was also there. Not that I am totally jealous, and Simone should be able to win just as many medals. And it's swimming's fault, not Michael Phelps' fault, just so you know. The NAIGC, which is the National Association of Intercollegiate Gymnastics Clubs, who also has an adult gymnastics championship, they have a survey. They want to know about the adult gymnastics community. So there's a survey. We'll put the link in the show notes and let them know so they can better serve you. And there's a fancy PhD analytics person putting your data together. So don't worry, it will be in good hands. Grace McCallum, we watched her because we watched our College and Cocktails. We watched UCLA, Utah, and Battle Altitude. And apparently everyone's in great shape and knows their sickle cell status because everyone was fine. Well, Jordan had a upset dive roll.
Yeah.
Jordan did a dive roll to, I'm not going to stand up out of this. I'm going to go to the side. Yeah. There was that. But Grace McCallum was spectacular. Jordan's mom posted that Jordan fell off her scooter in the rain earlier in the week, so she was sore from that.
Add that to the list of gymnast injuries.
Oh my God. The gymnast injuries, they never scoot, don't bike, don't be on a motorcycle for crying out loud.
We definitely learned.
Never ski, don't snowboard. No, don't be involved in anything with wheels on your feet. And for sure, don't run with the band. Remember the Stanford year where they were down to like 2 gymnasts because everyone got injured in a non-gymnastics injury? There was the pulmonary embolism, the person that was running with the band, which is a thing at Stanford, and they sprained their ankle. No extracurriculars, obviously. This is the abusive relationship we're in with our sport.
Yeah.
So anyway, Grace McCallum, you guys, did I tell you the whole point of this was that she's going to come back and be an assistant coach next year?
Oh, okay. We got back around to a point.
Yes.
That's good.
She did. Trinity Thomas. Everyone loves Trinity Thomas. Florida gymnast, has the slams of 10s on everything, and is ranked in the top, what is she, the top 4 of the most 10s?
Tied for first.
Oh, she did it in the end. That's right. Tied for first with.
We only talked about it for 9 years.
But we were counting down.
We were counting down, and you didn't remember the result. Yeah.
That's so often that all I could think was, is she going to do it? So yeah, she did it. Trinity Thomas, she's amazing. Tried to come back.
3-way tie with Dancher and Jenny Hansen.
Yeah. Tried to come back to elite, but had like an ankle thing. But she might not be done yet. She says, quote, I don't know. I don't want to say no chance, but at least not for next year. So
that's enough for Jessica.
That's it. For me,
so
she's
you're telling
on
me there's a chance. Yeah.
She's on the LA Olympic team. It's happening. NBC has extended media rights on all platforms in the United States of America for the Olympic Games through 2036. So the extended value is $3 billion. I mean, NBC they have really improved. It's much better. Let's just hope they keep doing more. Okay, Spencer, for crying out loud, what is happening in NCAA? Tell us everything.
Okay, it's like the important time of year now, Jessica.
Very.
It's serious. The season is starting. There are stakes, meaning that we're moving into championship season. Well, I'm going to tell you about them. I'll tell you. I will convince you. I will convince you that there are stakes. We're moving into the conference championships starting this weekend. There's a lot on the line besides conference titles, which is what I'm going to emphasize to you. Because do you want to do your usual rant about how conference championships are stupid and shouldn't matter, or do you just want to skip it this year?
I just want to say, they don't matter and they're stupid, but also it's really nice for the gymnasts because you get to brag about something and then you get to win something. I mean, they're not as bad as the regular season champions, but also like it's very nice for the gymnasts, and it's always nice to celebrate your small wins, and we should all take time for that. But as a sport thing for sports, meh. Carry on.
I think the reality is catching up with your opinion, as you always want it to do, because I think the conferences are even more like conference realignment has made the concept of a conference championship feel even more arbitrary, because it's not even geographically based. It's not even like we're the best team in this area of the country. It's just like, here's a random collection of teams. We're the best one among the random collection of teams.
Yeah.
But
This
at the same
TV
time,
broadcast network bought us as a conglomerate. So agreed to be purchased in this bundle of purchases. We're a grocery sack that came together through nothing. We had nothing to do
Why
with
isn't there a college team that's mascot is the canvas bags?
Oh my God, Stanford, get on it!
Really? Get rid of that tree.
What is MIT's like
bag.
some kind of a something sexual? What is it? Now I have to look it up, but why did it remind me of grocery bags? Because that's where you put your condoms? I don't know.
Because you were saying it was a collection of things.
Yes.
It was a random collection of things. And that was the first thing that came to mind.
Okay.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was a fine analogy. Actually.
Okay, thank you. Grocery sacks. That's where you put it's MIT's is Tim the Beaver.
Oh, that's why you thought it was sexual. Well, wait till I tell you about Oregon State. Okay, I think the fun thing about conference championships this year, we have Oklahoma in the SEC, so we will get to see the top 3 teams in the rankings, Oklahoma, LSU, and Florida, all competing together at the same time in front of the same judges, and we get that direct comparison of all 3 of them and the other SEC teams. So that is something I'm looking forward to. Although then you say, like, well, just do nationals then. If you are going to put all the best teams together to do a championship, what about the national championship? But we do have a live race for the number 1 ranking to end the season, which is not typical, because usually by this point Oklahoma has it sewn up because they have all of the scores. But this year Oklahoma is currently number 1, but Oklahoma, LSU, and Florida are all could finish the season and head into the elimination rounds at number 1. LSU actually has the highest potential maximum score, so it's in LSU's hands essentially if they score a 198.4 at SEC's, which at this point I feel like we have to consider that possible based on the judging and the scores this past weekend for the SEC
300 is possible.
300 is possible. So, but LSU could do it if everyone just gets a gigantic score. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of up between them and Oklahoma. Could be Florida. Florida has a very outside shot. They have to get at least like a 198.35 and then get some help, but it is possible. Then you ask the question, like, does it matter if you end? Is it anything more than just bragging rights to end the season ranked number 1 and head into the elimination meets? I think the argument some would make is that there is value in being the predestined champion or the one people expect to win in terms of how your routines are evaluated at nationals.
We will need a data analyst we'll need a judge and a data analyst to prove that Spencer's right, because I believe he is. So I would like
I didn't make a contention whether it matters or not.
You said that you've got a better shot if you're a favorite.
I said some might contend that. I have heard that.
This is the contention upon which I would like someone to create data that is not data is what is it? It's not, it doesn't have an opinion. It's, what's the word I'm looking for?
Objective?
Yes, it's objective. So I would like someone to create a subjective data used to prove that you are correct in this. There's favoritism. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's what the scoreboard is for. Oh, they're collecting all of this information on the judging so we can actually have a supervisor of referees in NCAA Gymnastics. Oh my God, it's almost like someone's doing this. But objectively.
Having watched the season so far, do you think it is accurate that Oklahoma, LSU, and Florida are kind of all in it for number 1 and at least somewhat neck and neck? Florida would have to get a really high score to get up there, or at least somewhat. close to each other?
Yes. And only because I feel like Oklahoma has less built-in deductions. Way less. But Oklahoma has had landing issues, which is not normal for them. And LSU has more built-in deductions, but they've been better with the landings. Sometimes. And Florida's kind of been all over the place this season.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that is my answer is also yes with a question mark at the end. Because I think that when it comes to Florida, their lineup has the potential to be on par with Oklahoma and LSU, even with the injuries they've had. I think when you still look at the people they have available, yes, they can be there. I think their scores are more so the product of some like crazy home scores. So they don't necessarily have all of the road scores like we saw over the weekend with that 198.6. So it's more, I think with Florida it being in that conversation, it's more based on potential rather than what they've necessarily shown. They've also, they have been had more during the season injuries and have played around with lineups a lot more. And so we'll see if that is that a benefit? Were you resting people and now they're a little fresher heading into the end of the season? Or is that like, we don't actually know who can get a 9-9 and we're still not really sure?
Yeah.
Or just like, we've had enough injuries that now the decision has been made, Marta Caroli style. But so that is interesting to me. That's not a conference championship title necessarily, but that is what one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing. Also, I think the big storyline, the big question of conference championships weekend is who's going to end up having to go to Alabama, which we started talking about a couple weeks ago. That the big issue is, so Alabama is currently ranked 13th. They're kind of in that zone. They are hosting a regional. So some top ranked teams are going to have to go to Alabama, and a favored team is going to have to beat Alabama in Alabama to make it to nationals. And that's a really tough draw. And that's a draw that none of the top teams, the top 8 teams want to have to beat Alabama in Alabama. So where that shakes out, because right now we don't know how that's going to go, because Alabama, currently 13th, could end up anywhere ranked 9th to 15th and could end up in any regional grouping except for Utah, because Utah is also a host.
Mm-hmm.
So we have no idea how that's going to end up now. But after conference championships, we'll know. So that's going to be fun to track as we go along. Right now, the current situation is not that different than when we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but one regional would be Oklahoma, Kentucky, Michigan State, Arkansas. One would be LSU, Missouri, Georgia, Minnesota. One would be Florida, not just floor. It's Florida. Florida, Cal, Oregon State, and Alabama. And then one would be Utah, UCLA, Auburn, and Stanford. Oh. Alabama would originally have been seated in that Utah regional, but they have to be moved because of the host conflict. And also of note, Arkansas. So we've got the results of the SEC, the internal SEC moon door competition, where one team in the competition does not get to advance to the conference championship. That ended up being Arkansas. It actually doesn't affect them as drastically as it could have. Arkansas is locked at number 16. No one else can pass them, so they will be seated at regionals, even though they can't compete at the conference championship. So they got kind of lucky. They escaped what could have been a rougher situation, but they don't get to compete at the conference championship.
For those who don't know, the moon door is a giant hole in the floor that you push people through and they fall to their death. Yes.
And that's what the SEC, they call it that. That was official. They sent out a press release.
They did.
We have introduced a moon door to gymnastics.
Watch this Game of Thrones episode to understand more. Yeah.
So that's the big thing. We have no idea who's going to end up with Alabama, because they could have so many different rankings and things are going to change so much, or at least could change so much during the conference championship. But it's the kind of thing that everyone is doing the math and doing the permutations like, okay, so if Alabama scores a 197.6, do we not have to be in their regional? And it's like, maybe.
God, the Oklahoma, Kentucky, Michigan State, Arkansas is the one that makes me most nervous because I'm like, Michigan State has to make it. They have to. So they have
quick
to make
start for Michigan State. They were up there at like the fifth in the country early in the season. They got those solid like 197 fours, a lot of them early, and they've kind of just been stuck in that area where we've seen the teams sort of around them in the rankings get those 197.7, 197.9s. And so Michigan State hasn't moved its NQS that much in a while. So they've kind of seen themselves get passed up. But that, if it's Michigan State against Kentucky, 8 and 9 to try to go through with Oklahoma, that's a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Right. But Kentucky did lose Caitlin Jong.
That's Auburn.
Oh, sorry. Oh, Kentucky didn't lose anybody. Am I thinking that they lost someone? No.
Not that I know of.
Those teams aren't even the same color. No, they both have blue.
I know.
So that was my
different blues though, right?
I also oh God. I mean, can we allow variations of colors, you guys? All these teams with the same colors, let them wear whatever they want.
What colors are bothering you today?
The ones that are all royal blue, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's boring. Let's be more creative. Also, I need Stanford to make it for art, and I need Oklahoma, LSU, Stanford, UCLA, Cal, Florida, Utah, and Michigan State to make it. Is that 8? That's what those are my.
Okay. So wait, do it again. I wasn't tracking it. I need
every Oklahoma.
You definitely picked 3 teams.
Oh, and Missouri. I need Missouri to make it. I need Oklahoma, Michigan State, LSU, Missouri, Florida, Cal, Utah, UCLA, and Stanford to make it. Okay. I need
you've
9
too many teams.
But
you're having trouble with your Utah, UCLA, Auburn, Stanford regional.
That is the one that God, do you remember what happened?
You've now picked 2 separate regionals as the one.
The one.
And neither of them are the one, which is the Alabama regional.
You guys see, this is why the stakes are exciting. Whereas conference championships, there's no stakes at all.
This is what's happening at conference championships.
Yes.
We just
need, it's a preview of the stakes.
People to tell us that.
Yes.
While watching conference championships. Because it's going to be a lot of like, they win the conference title. And not a lot of like, they're going to be seated 12th. And that's significant.
Yes. The real thing is to be like, conference. Are they going to be in the right regional so they can easily make it to championships where they should be? That's what we need emphasized constantly. People, okay? Sam Pesek, the Onion, Connor the Onion is our new favorite straight boy, and I just mean straight boy, not that he's a straight, but that he's like the non-gymnastics commentator, which there's a name for, and
play-by-play.
Thank you.
You would call it, but
play-by-play boy. Oh, that doesn't sound right either. But anyway, he did such a great job at Utah UCLA. I was like, what? Who is this? Why has it? So he's in the echelon now with the Kevin Kopp.
Wow.
Very impressed.
That's big. Those are big words.
It's big. I don't give you guys.
You don't, especially to men. You do not give those classifications lightly.
Right. It's like Evan Heider.
Well, let's not go crazy.
Evan Heider. No one else. Okay.
Thing about that, there is a selection show
about Evan
on
Heider?
TV.
Go on.
There's a selection show on the TV this year.
Ooh,
so that's the selection show is going to be on ESPNU on March 24th.
Real TV.
That's Monday. Well, semi-real TV. You could watch it on a TV at 12 p.m. Eastern. So usually in the past, the selection show has been a live taped kind of fake live thing that they release on the NCAA website, and there are usually thousands of horrible mispronunciations. They've actually gotten better over the years, which is very disappointing to me, but yes, it's usually quite a struggle of a presentation, and so we will see if having it on TV is different this year, or what they do, or what they have to say,
or if the NCAA will find an Enya on the keyboards this year and spell people's names right.
You can't imagine.
They've never met an Enya. The ACC network put the strikey umlaut Nord letters, like the O with
the O with a line through it.
With a line through it on their screen lower thirds. So if the ACC network can do it, I expect ACC network and Fox, like real Fox Sports, like the Utah UCLA meet was so well done, such a great meet. I was so impressed with how they did it. I was like, wow, that was great. But yeah, the ACC, I mean, you've got an umlaut or whatever that's called. You guys don't write in. I won't remember. You'll tell me, and then I'll just people.
You're so excited to start typing, and you're like, I don't care.
Yeah, I won't remember it, but thank you. I mean, no, I do have a whiteboard, but I'm not going to put the names of all the alphabets up there. But thank you so much for starting your email and caring.
Thank you for your input. Thank you for your interest. Okay.
Thank you so much.
I need to talk to you about the Making Regionals cutoff. You're home for chaos. Making the top 36 this year. Okay, so the format of regionals, 36 teams advance to regionals overall. Everyone else is eliminated for the season after conference championships. 8 teams go into the play-ins. We'll deal with that later. We're not there yet, but that's part of it. But 36 teams total advance. 33 spots are locked at this point. Top 33 teams are safe. 3 spots are left. 12 teams are still in contention for those 3 spots. So we've got a lot of moving parts going into the conference championships. 12 teams: West Virginia, Towson, Central Michigan, Iowa State, UC Davis, Washington, Rutgers, George Washington, Illinois State, Kent State, Pitt, and Ball State are all still alive. I did say on College and Cocktails that Pitt was mathematically eliminated, and I was wrong because they still had another meet. So that's my College and Cocktails mistake.
Yeah, I said I met Wolf son. Pitt is not eliminated.
Yeah.
Thank God, because
it's an outside shot, I would say. Underdog, but still in it. So West Virginia is currently in 34th, the top team of that group. And I would say they're in control. They would clinch a spot by scoring a 195.75 or 195.575, which like at the beginning of the season, that score was kind of a pipe dream for them, but they've been beating that pretty regularly over the last
few weeks. It's the power of the plunger stick crown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't think that's too much of an ask for them at this point. 195.575. So I would say they're in the driver's seat in terms of getting one of those 3 available spots. Towson is next. They would need a 195.875 to clinch it. That's a little bit more trouble, but they can definitely do it. But that's maybe less confident in that. But after that, it's just chaos, full chaos, because Central Michigan is in position in 36th right now, but 7 other teams have higher maximum NQSs than Central Michigan after this next week. Iowa State is just 0.005 of a point in NQS behind Central Michigan. So 0.005 of a point in NQS is half a deduction in meet scores. That's a 0.025 in a meet score. And any deduction, the minimum deduction is 0.05. So Ohio State is half a deduction behind Central Michigan for regionals right now. So that's very close. Rutgers actually has the highest max NQS of the challengers, 36 and below. That would be the first time in more than a decade that they made regionals. Washington's a regionals host, as we talked about, still in it. Doesn't have quite the same peak, though. Needs maybe some teams to have some mistakes, as well as having a huge score. So especially if you're watching on Friday, because there's some stuff going on Friday. Most of the conference championships are on Saturday, but the MIC championship, the dual meet between Oregon State and Fisk is on Friday that they were able to add to the schedule because Oregon State doesn't have a conference anymore. And the first session of Big Tens is Friday night. And Washington and Rutgers are both in the first of 3 sessions of a championship. Because you know what's exciting is when your championship takes 2 days and there are 3 different sessions. But they're both in it on Friday night. So that's actually going to be really significant for regionals qualification. Because Rutgers, like if Rutgers just gets a wild score, like the judges are like, oh my God, bottom 4 teams, we love you so much. Everyone gets a 197. Rutgers is in no matter what anyone else does. So that's going to tell us a lot about how things are going to play out. But many teams, many scores to watch. So if you're a score watcher like me, should be a fun day to have those things, you know, getting the results as we go through. as the scores come in during conference championship day, because that could go so many different directions.
For a feelings watcher, West Virginia, slightly weird. That's what I like about them. Iowa State, Beam, the Rutgers, can't count out New Jersey. New Jersey's their New Jersey. And then
if you want the team, I would say Rutgers, underdog team, haven't made it in a long time, fired their head coach.
So Rutgers, they've been through it. Rutgers been through it, and they're from New Jersey. So, and Pitt, the art, and the Casey Joe McGuinness. That's what you want to watch them for. Those are my picks.
Very important. Yeah. So, we're watching, lots happening. That's not a conference title, because Jessica might kill you if you talk about how important that is.
My God. I mean, the real important thing is who's going to make it individually. So that will be the main focus to NCAAs.
Next week's episode, once we've had the selection show, we're going to watch the selection show, and then we're going to do an episode, and Jessica's going to have a lot of opinions about the individuals.
Okay, you guys, my dream for the selection show is for the teams to know like who their biggest competition is. And when they see like, oh shit, we're in competition with the like 9 and or like, 8 and 9 team are together, to be like, fuck, on TV. Or like,
oh, that'd be good.
Just be like, no, and throw things. Like, you guys, it's TV. Like, everyone being like, yay, and looking around at each other like, do we care? Does it matter? Oh, it's not a head-to-head sport, really. There's no battle in real life, so it doesn't matter. We're just going to do our best because that's all we can control. We want drama. So who can we count on? Who understands the assignment of this being on TV and having a reaction?
Of pretending like you didn't already know your teams, because the top 16 teams are placed in a set system that you'll know once all the scores are in where they're going to go, but you have to pretend like you don't already know. Which you should be good at as a gymnast, because you have to pretend like you're doing your floor routine for the first time, even though you've done it 100 billion times.
All the time. Okay, Michigan State, they understand, their coaches understand, the Broadways, the performance. So I feel like they could do a Netherlands here and just do a choreographed dance. Don't even react. Just have like a full choreography ready.
Sure.
Something that will, this is your opportunity to go viral. Get noticed is the important thing. So this, I'm hoping Michigan come. Who else would like understand the assignment? Utah is very fun with Carly. They're a fun team now. Who else really? Oklahoma would be like, we don't have time for that. We're chandeliering our way to perfect toe point. We don't play.
Okay, my question is like, for Georgia, has Cecile like been NCAA'd already to just be like, say, toe the party line of what you're supposed to say, or could we still get like some honesty, some like French honesty?
I think we could get French honesty from Cecile. I think we can. Yeah. I think about gymnastics, we can get real Cecile. Also,
this could be like, this is a stupid regional and I hate it and I don't want to go. Would be great. Not just like, oh, the teams are so talented. It's such an honor to compete with them. No, we don't want that. If coaches are interviewed on this selection show, we don't want excited. We don't want honored. We don't want it's a privilege to be with these other amazing teams at this regional. None of that. That's out. Those are all out.
We earned this, bitches. You're going down. Bloodbath. That's what we'd like to see. Or choreographed dance. Either one of those is fine. Speaking of Cecile, if you haven't gotten your season pass for live shows, so season passes you can watch all online, all 4. If you want to come in person, then you just upgrade for that in-person show. Speaking of Georgia and Cecile, you might want to purchase that season pass.
Okay.
Yeah. GymCastic.com. Get your season pass, because they're on sale now and they won't be on sale forever. And you get 4 live show tickets for the price of 3. It's like extremely good deal. So, we did not do. There was too much crack for corrupt. So
yeah, Jessica and I looked at each other before we started the show, and we're like, "Do we have anything?" No, we have 50. I can't even.
Yeah, it just, you guys, just the scoreboard. Bless you for collecting the data. That's our corrupt or correct. Just I can't wait for the reports. We do have a little bit of feedback, so you can post it on our message board, the forum at gymcastic.com, or send us an email, gymcastic@gmail.com. So first one, a few thoughts. Irish College Fredericks uniform. Oh, I love this. String together topics.
Okay. This is from Hannah. 1, I would totally watch a reality show about the Irish men's gymnastics house, especially if there was a dramatic game of giant chess each episode.
Yes.
2, do you think the American Olympians competing in college gain a score advantage based on their reputation, or are they genuinely more skilled on average than the top level 10 athletes they compete against? At the time I'm writing, Jade, Leanne, and Grace are in the top 7 for all-around, and there are 3 to 4 Olympians on the top 10 of each individual event. Interestingly, international Olympians don't seem to have the same possible advantage, with the exception of Brooklyn Moores and maybe Aaliyah Finnegan. Do you think there's a judging bias at work, or are they just superior in execution and consistency?
They are superior.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I think like you don't get to where they've gotten to as Olympians without being very comfortable with the gymnastics that's required to excel in college. So a lot of it is ability. I think we have seen also kind of an unintentional bias go into scoring the most famous athletes.
Yeah.
And you can, like, there are routines for all of them. Jade, Jordan Chiles,
Jordan,
Grace, Leanne,
everyone.
where you're like, if you like went second in the lineup and we're a level 10, I don't think you're getting that score.
Yeah. There's also, I mean, we've also seen that for, Aaliyah Finnegan with the many, like, you step out of bounds, Yeah,
and there are, like, so many things that go into it. Like, the leotard you're wearing, what team you're on, all of that also, You can't isolate it into a specific reason. Like, you're a famous Olympian, but we see it.
But I think, like, the biggest thing is, like, for the elites, and I know you're saying the Olympians, but, like, they have been doing these skills since grade school. I mean, like, before 5th grade, they have been doing the skills they're doing now, and it's so easy for them. And it's just, these are, like, the very basics. So to, like, clean up form a little bit, potentially clean up a little technique to make your form better when you're in college, it's just so easy for them. And I'm not saying it's not hard, like, it's a grueling season and it's a grind and all of that stuff, but, like, the actual skills are just not hard for them.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to, if you have somebody that's like a level 9 and they first get to college and they just might be like, I can't make it through the day with my eyes open. You want me to point my toes? Like, this is so tiring. And for everybody else, it's easier and hard in a different way, but easier gymnastically. So, yeah. But do you feel like if Jade is like, her form is so much better. But sometimes I'm like, if Jade was like on a D3 team,
what would Tom Haley say? Better is still a deduction.
That's right. And it's not your best, and you're capable of more. That's why Oklahoma and their chandeliers, I just want them to march out with chandeliers on their head. Like, do you remember when Shakira did, like, because that's she's like Lebanese, and she has that thing where you put chandelier on your head. I know it's not a real, maybe it's a candelabra or something, and then you do the belly dance with the thing on your head. It's something adjacent to this. You guys, I don't know if it's a chandelier, candelabra, or what it is, but there's like a big headdress thing.
Yeah.
And it's cool. And she did this in like the last actual concert I went to was Shakira. And it was like my favorite part. I was like, ooh, look at this. There's a chandelier belly dance section of the concert. Anyway, I just feel like Oklahoma, if you wanted to, chandeliers are basically your mascot. So there's another opportunity. Maybe this is what they do during the selection show. They're not going to be watching the selection show. That's a waste of their workout time. What am I even thinking?
There's an opportunity to be on camera. You got to promote
care.
that. You got to promote yourself.
I did love that in their little documentary thing that they did. Maybe this is actually what they do every week. Maybe this is what they actually do. But there was like we're planning for our, like, a marketing meeting. And it was like a like a conference room, boardroom level, like 20 people on one side and the coaches on the other. And it was like, it was like, this is an army of marketing team people, like dedicated, an army. It's an army of fixing your beam by giving you stuff you won't get credit for. But I love that because I was like, I hope Oklahoma does have an army of people dedicated to marketing them, but I feel like this is a staged scene and I love it and I'm here for it. Anyway, Jess's dream fantasy team.
All right, Maggie said, I decided I needed a new challenge aside from the pricing changes this week, so I made a themed second fantasy team. I went with Jessica's suggestion and made an all-graduate student fifth-year team called Let Me Get That COVID Year. The rules I gave myself were that all gymnasts had to be either classified as a graduate student on the team's roster or be in their fifth year of competing. The team scored a 197.4 this week, I believe. It actually outperformed my regular fantasy team due to Kiko Jung's injury and LSU's floor lineup scramble. Having a theme is a new challenge, and I highly recommend it. Thanks for all you do and creating such a fun fantasy game to play along all season.
Yay! I'm so glad. You guys, are we going to get the Brooklyn Moors 10? Thank you for all the people that validated everything I've been saying for the last 10 years that seeing Brooklyn Moors in person is a religious experience and will change what you think.
People, haven't you learned, don't validate the things Jessica says, then she'll never stop talking about them.
I'm right about stuff. I'm just telling you. So hopefully we'll get to unlock that badge. Oh my God, please let us unlock that badge.
They tried. They took our advice and put her in the anchor spot for senior day. Like we said they should, and it didn't work.
She should anchor every time. This is justice for Brooklyn Moors. Oh, someone almost unlocked the 199 badge this week.
Wow.
Damn. Fantasies at gymcastic.com. Turning shoe color. Turning shoe color? Turning shoe.
Kelly says, I noticed at Winter Cup that several gymnasts were wearing a turning shoe / half sole that did not match their skin tone. These shoes do come in different colors. Maybe Jessica can pass this information along to Chelsea and Alicia to share with the coaches.
Yeah, they do. You can. A lot of people used to have to dye their briefs.
Oh, DYE. Got it. I got it. I understand. I got there.
They used to have to, yes, but yeah, there are lots of like briefs available in a million different colors, and there's even there's black chalk now. Although people that have tested it, they've given me the feedback that's not quite ready for like gymnastics use yet, but it exists. So eventually, you won't maybe have to compete with, white spots all over you. You can use this dark chalk. But then I can see the FIG being like, oh, we don't like how dark chalk looks on the bar. But then you just scrape it off after you go. Anywho, you can get these, the turn shoes, if you would like, in various colors. And I will put a link to this in the show notes. Let's see. Okay, this is an important one. Gymnastics eligibility calculus. The same, Landon, same.
Okay. Landon says, quick question about eligibility because it is more confusing than my honors calculus classes in college.
Yeah.
Could DiCello defer again in 2028 to try for LA and still come back to finish out her NCAA career in 2029? I'm thinking yes, since she competed in 2023, deferred 2024, can redshirt 2025, competing in 2026 and 2027 would only give her 3 years of actual competitive experience. Or would she not be able to, since that would be her 7th season, that whole 5 years to compete in 4 seasons timeline thingy? She hasn't even definitively said if she wants to try for 2028, but us DiCellinators are ready for Kayla 28. The year it finally happens. Thanks for all you do.
DiCellinators. I love it. I imagine like a cello doing beam, but like with a machine gun on the end. This is like immediately.
I'm glad you're imagining that. Good,
you don't admit? Do you immediately see things like a picture in your mind with this kind of stuff? Am I the only one? Do you not?
You're definitely not the only one, but not.
not
I think
you.
It emphasizes the different ways our brains work.
Yes, It does. I immediately see a whole scene playing out, and yes, she could compete. She could keep eligibility. Listen. If you
where there's a will, there's a way.
make a freaking case to the NCAA, you can do it. Like that kicker or somebody who just had 9 years of eligibility. Like basically everything's out the window. You can do whatever you want now. So the big thing is like you really need to tell your team what your plans are because they have scholarships lined up, and it is very hard to plan if someone comes back to make sure they continue to have their scholarship. So that's the only thing, because there's people that would have been allocated to, and now it's not available for them if you're staying on the extra time. But I'm sure she could NIL the hell out of whatever she wants and pay for her own school if she's NILing. So
yeah, so that's kind of out the window too, depending on the school.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We are about to record our fantasy update podcast after this. So look forward to that. That comes out on Wednesdays. And we also have 2 newsletters because fact checkers I don't have enough to do. I want to also make sure that I am doing fantasy and writing 3 newsletters and editing the fantasy show and running the fantasy stuff and then being the COO at GymCastic and our fact checker. So shout out to him for doing all the extra stuff. And so yeah, that's the whole extra podcast that you get. You get 3 freaking podcasts during NCAA season. We have that, and then we have College and Cocktails, which is going to be Saturday, March 22nd at 7 p.m. after conference championships, 7-ish. Like it's got to end, and then we have to pee, run downstairs, run into the Spencer runs nowhere. He gets his cocktail and then sits back down. And so Spencer's watch along is going to be back on the balance beam situation for the championship season. So you can find his live blog there. The drink this upcoming week is please. Spencer's. The drink this week is please inform the judges.
Is it just a glass of alcohol?
Please inform the judges. Your fantasy lineups lock on Friday, March 21st at 2:30 p.m. Pacific. And you can add the whole College and Cocktail schedule to your favorite podcast in your calendar. And you can listen on your favorite podcast player. You don't have to log in live.
Schedule to your podcast
player. And you can listen. You don't have to log in live, but it's fun because we react to things live and we have a good time. And don't forget about the lexicon. We talked about that on College and College. We're getting a downloadable lexicon of GymCastic things. So if you were like, what the hell is being Galliavad? Or who is MILF juice? Then all of these things, Pumpernickel Rose, they're all in there for you. So until Wednesday, please remember to take off on gay, split so hard on rights, right into people's faces who don't understand rights. And thank you so much for listening, and happy Immigrants Holiday, St. Patrick's Day, and we'll see you on College and Cocktails. Thanks for listening.